Redfall, more like Red fall off.
Man, you fell off.
Redfall definitely is one of the video games of all times. It's a video game with visuals and frame rates and chimneys. The game sucks, okay? That's what it comes down to. The game is not good, and I feel like I quickly have to point this out before I proceed in this video. I know on this channel we usually make fun of the PlayStation fanboys, okay? But that doesn't mean that when Xbox makes a shitty game, we're not gonna talk about how shitty the game is, okay? Because it's quite shitty. Now, I do have to say, I haven't played this game. I have no interest in this game. I've never had any interest in playing this game. To me, it just looked like a very generic, boring, open world shooter. And it does seem like that's what it is. And it could possibly be a very decent game if it wasn't for the fact that it was absolutely fucking broken. Like, the game literally released in stores with a little note on it that said that it was only at 30 FPS, but it was going to be in 60 FPS like promised later on. Like, could you imagine you go into a video game store, right? And you pick up a game, and the game has a note on it that basically says, hey, this game is a broken piece of shit, but we'll fix it later, I promise. Please give us $70 fucking now. Now in this video I mainly want to talk about, how come that the game released this shitty and broken, and not so much about like the reasons why the game sucks, which is mainly it released shitty and broken. Also, even if it didn't, this game suffers from the same, how do you do fellow kids dialogue that Forspoken suffered from. So yeah, that's not a good thing.
Bloodsuckers? More like butt-suckers.
One question that I think is very important to like unraveling why the game launched in such a broken, unplayable almost state is why? Why did the game release now? I know that kind of sounds like a stupid question, but it is quite obvious to me that the reason why the game launched now in this like sort of rushed, broken state is because Microsoft shoved it out the door. Now Microsoft has already stated that they had nothing to do with the development of Redfall and they let their studios do their own thing, but I don't believe it. Like, it's such bullshit. Like, there's no other reason why to rush this game and put it out now unfinished other than Xbox needing another exclusive this year. Because they definitely do need more exclusives on their platform. And I just don't believe that higher ups at Arcane or Bethesda or ZeniMax forced this game out of the door, because Arcane released another game pretty recently. And usually, a big AAA studio like this will release a video game once every 4 to 5 years, not every 2. That's kind of expecting a lot, and I highly doubt that like ZeniMax, for example, for some reason is fine with all of their studios releasing games every 4 to 5 years, but they just demand and expect Arcane to release one every 2 years. And I do believe that ZeniMax and especially like Bethesda have learned a lesson from Fallout 76 and releasing games way too early and broken. Even when that happened, I can remember the delayed games like Doom Eternal to make sure they launched with as little bugs as possible. And on top of that, Xbox is just the only company here, the only party involved that gains anything from the game being released now. They gain an exclusive, which they desperately need. Every other party involved has no need for this game to launch now. They could easily afford to have the game delayed, maybe even a couple of years, to have it actually be a well-polished game. Now the big question here is, what does this mean for future games, right? Because if they're, like for Starfield for example, because if they're willing to take games and just force them out the door so that they can have an exclusive on their platform, how will that impact future games made by Xbox Studios? It's really hard to say. I think Starfield will probably be fine. I think just because it has been in development for so incredibly long. So it'll probably be fine, though there is still a big chance that it is going to be full of bugs at launch because it's a Bethesda game and it potentially is being rushed by Xbox. But yeah, this is a pretty tricky situation because I can't really think of any other games that have been rushed out of the door by Microsoft, or at least that haven't been rushed as much as this, to the point where the game is barely playable and that one of the features that was promised at launch, which was 60 FPS, which shouldn't even be that difficult in 2023, like it should just be the standard. Okay, like that should be the lowest setting it goes to, is 60 FPS, whatever. They couldn't even do that at launch. Now, from what I can tell, it doesn't look like other games are being rushed, mainly because a lot of the games that we know are coming out for Xbox, like for example Avowed and a new Perfect Dark, that Rareware game with the fish and the old ladies and whatever, like from what I can tell, those games are not being rushed because we haven't seen anything of those games since their reveal, which is kind of telling me that the developers are getting enough time to work on those games, hopefully. And I also hope that this failure that is Redfall kind of just shakes up Xbox a bit and they realize that it's not okay to, rush games like this and release them broken and unplayable. And Phil Spencer knows this because he did an interview in which he stated that he is not happy with the fact that, he disappointed the community or whatever the fuck, right?
It's been a tough release week for that, coming out to low reviews and a lot of disappointment from many fans. Can you talk about that? What is your thoughts right now as we head into the first week of this game being out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. I'll hit Redfall, but I'll just say all up. There's nothing that's more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community.
Now, I do believe that he is genuinely unhappy about the fact that they put out such a poor product, because he clearly does seem to care somewhat for the Xbox brand and for the people playing on Xbox. Now, obviously, I'm not going to play the entire interview, but in the interview, I did kind of feel like Phil Spencer was giving up the vibe of yeah, it sucks, I'm very disappointed, I obviously don't want to put out poor products like this, but it's not my fault. That's kind of what it came off as. Yeah, but it's not Xbox's fault though. He didn't really take responsibility or explain really what went wrong. But anyway, guys, I guess this is the end of the video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.